she told her lawyer. Once we're married, I want everything transferred to my name, ASAP, and she never thought I'd hear it. But I did. That one sentence changed everything. I was supposed to be her future, her partner, the man she claimed to love. But to her, I was just a plan, a shortcut, a transaction. She thought I was blinded by love, that I wouldn't notice the small lies, the subtle manipulation, the timing of everything. But I was paying attention, and I let her think she had me. Up until the wedding day, what she didn't know was that while she was preparing to take everything from me, I was preparing for something else. Not revenge, not drama, just the truth. And when it came out, she couldn't deny it anymore. This is not a story about a wedding. This is a story about seeing someone's true face and walking away with your soul intact. I wasn't supposed to hear it. That's what keeps playing in my head, over and over. I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to arrive early. I wasn't supposed to walk past that door at that exact moment, but I did, and everything changed. It was a Friday. I remember that clearly. I had just left work a bit earlier than usual because I wanted to surprise my fiancée. We were only 3 weeks away from the wedding. Things were busy, chaotic even, but in a good way. You know how it is: guest lists, seating plans, last-minute tucks, fittings. But I was excited. I was in love. Or at least I thought I was. She had this meeting scheduled with her lawyer. I knew about it. She said it was just to finalize some documents for her business, nothing strange. She'd mentioned wanting to keep everything tidy and legally clean before we merged our lives, and I respected that. I admired her independence, so when I showed up early I thought I was being sweet. I picked up her favorite coffee and figured we'd go grab dinner after her meeting, just a quiet evening together before the next wave of wedding madness hit. I walked into the office building. It was one of those sleek, modern ones, glass walls, polished floors, the kind of place where everyone looks busy even if they're not. I checked the floor number, took the elevator up, and when I stepped out, I saw her through the glass. She was sitting with her lawyer, facing away from the door. I was about to knock, but then I heard it clear, sharp, like the universe wanted to make sure I didn't miss a single word. She said, "Once we're married, I want everything transferred to my name ASAP. I don't want any delays." I froze. Her voice was calm, like she was ordering lunch. There wasn't even a hint of hesitation. The lawyer replied, "That shouldn't be a problem, but are you sure he'll agree to that?" And she laughed. She actually laughed and said, "Oh, he will. He's obsessed with me. He'd sign anything if I told him it would make me happy." I remember just standing there, coffee in hand, unable to move. My heart started pounding. Not like nervous pounding. No, this was something else. A cold, steady thud in my chest. Like my body already knew what my mind didn't want to believe. I took a step back, trying to convince myself I misheard. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe this was about something else. A prenup, a contract. Maybe it wasn't about me at all. But then she kept going. "He thinks this is real," she said. "That we're building something together. He has no idea how much he's worth to me." I felt something crack inside me. Not just pain, not just confusion. It was betrayal, but deeper. The kind that doesn't scream or shout. The kind that just sits in your chest and rots. She was talking about me like I was a transaction, a stepping stone, a target, and the worst part, I believed everything she said to my face. Every "I love you," every "we're in this together," every lie. I turned and left before she saw me. I didn't even realize I'd crushed the coffee cup in my hand until I was back in the elevator, the lid half hanging off, my fingers wet and trembling. I didn't go to dinner. I didn't answer her calls that night. I told her I got stuck at work and crashed early. And she, being the brilliant actress she clearly was, didn't suspect a thing. But inside, I was unraveling. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I just kept hearing her voice, that tone, that confidence, the way she said I was obsessed with her. Had I been so blinded by love, or whatever I thought was love, that I didn't see any of this coming? I started replaying our entire relationship from the beginning. Little things that felt off but I brushed aside. Questions she asked about finances, how eager she was to know about assets, property, my parents' estate. I thought she was just planning for our future. But now, I wasn't so sure she ever saw one. At least not one that included me the way I saw her. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends, not my parents. I wasn't ready to say it out loud, because saying it out loud meant it was real. That the woman I was about to marry was planning to take everything, and I was just a means to an end. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for sure: this wedding wasn't going to end the way she expected. After that day at the lawyer's office, something shifted in me. Not just emotionally, but mentally. It was like a curtain had finally been pulled back, and I was seeing things for what they really were, not what I wanted them to be. For you, I went along with everything like nothing had happened. I answered her texts, smiled on calls, listened to her complain about wedding details, vendors, and colors I didn't even care about anymore. But underneath all of it, I was studying her, watching her, listening more closely than I ever had. And once I started paying attention, it all became clear. She had a plan, a very calculated, very quiet plan, and I was just the first step in it. She used to say things that didn't mean much to me before. Little comments that I brushed off as nothing, like when she said, "You're the first guy I've been with who actually has a future." Or, "I'm so tired of struggling, I want stability for once." At the time, I took that as a compliment. I thought she saw me as someone solid, reliable, but now I hear those words differently. Now they sound like strategy. She started isolating me subtly over the last year. She didn't push, but she nudged. Less time with friends. More time with her. Fewer dinners with my family. More nights in just the two of us. She made it feel romantic, intimate, like she just wanted me all to herself. And I thought that was love, but now I know it was control. She was building a bubble one she could shape, manage, and use, and I walked right into it with open arms. There were signs. So many signs. Like how she always changed the subject when we talked about prenups. Said things like, "Do you really think we need that? We're not planning to divorce, right?" And when I said I just wanted to be smart about things, she'd look hurt. She'd say, "So you don't trust me?" It worked. I felt guilty. I dropped it. She knew exactly how to twist it, so she always looked like the victim, always the one being wronged. And then there was the money talk. A few months before the engagement, I had inherited some property from my grandfather. It wasn't huge, but it was valuable, something I planned to hold on to, maybe build on one day. She got unusually interested in it, kept asking, "What are you planning to do with it?" "You should probably transfer it to our joint name after we're married, just to keep things simple." Simple, that word came up a lot when she was trying to slide something past me. And now, looking back, I realized I was just the start. She wasn't just marrying me, she was acquiring me, like I was a business move, a stepping stone to whatever next phase she had in mind. Because the truth is, she came from nothing. She told me that early on. Grew up struggling, bad relationships, no support. I admired her resilience, the way she built herself up. But now I wonder, did she ever actually build anything, or did she just learn how to find people who already had something and figure out how to take it? I started digging quietly. I looked into her past relationships. Not much out there, but a few things stood out. 2 of her exes, both older, both well off. Both relationships ended mysteriously fast, but not before she moved in with them and somehow walked away with more than she came in with: furniture, a car, even a small cash settlement in one case. She told me those breakups were painful, that she'd been used, manipulated, and I believed her. Of course I did. I saw her as a survivor. But maybe I had it backwards. Maybe she wasn't the one being used. Maybe she was the one doing the using. And now, I was next. I wasn't just her fiancé. I was her investment. A long game she'd been playing with patience and precision. The scary part, she was good at it. Too good. She didn't push too fast. She never came across greedy. She wrapped everything in love. In sweet words and gentle smiles. It wasn't a scam that hit you all at once. It was one that unfolded slowly, over time, while you smiled and called it love. By the time I realized what was happening, I was already deep in it. Invites had been sent. The venue was paid. Our families had started calling each other in-laws, and she thought she had me right where she wanted me. But what she didn't know was that I was done playing the part of her pawn. She had a plan, but now, so did I. I wasn't planning on speaking to her lawyer. That was never part of the plan. But fate has a funny way of handing you answers when you least expect them. It started with a missed call, a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out a few minutes. Later, a voicemail popped up. It was short and polite. Just her lawyer saying he wanted to confirm a few things before the final paperwork was signed. I froze. Final paperwork? What paperwork? I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't even seen anything, so I called back. I didn't pretend to be someone else. I just said, "Hi, this is Alex. I'm calling regarding the documents for my upcoming wedding." He sounded relieved. "Oh, great. Thanks for getting back to me. We just wanted to make sure you were still comfortable with the transfers and joint ownership agreements. We have the draft ready, but we need your digital signature to move forward." I kept my voice steady. "Can you remind me which documents you're referring to? I don't think I've seen those yet." There was a pause. Then he said, "Reitima mentioned you were fine with everything, that you'd already agreed to transfer the property title and consolidate the accounts under her name once the marriage is official." I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just stood there, trying to hold in the storm building inside me. He continued, thinking I was just trying to clarify. "I mean, we can adjust the timeline if needed. I know it's a big step. But as long as a marriage certificate is submitted, the title transfer paperwork will go through automatically." She wanted it processed ASAP after the honeymoon. There it was. In plain English, a full confirmation. My property, my finances, my life, all lined up neatly, waiting to be handed over, like a transaction, like a handoff, like I was the final piece of some checklist she'd been working through. I took a breath. "And she told you I agreed to that?" He chuckled. "A little, yes, that's what she said. I assumed the two of you had already discussed it." I said, "We haven't." Silence. The kind of silence that only means one thing. He knew he'd just said something he shouldn't have. He stammered, "Oh, I see. Well, maybe I misunderstood." I thought I cut him off. "No, it's fine. Thank you for your..." time and I hung up that call didn't just confirm what I already suspected, it proved it in black and white. She was planning to take everything, not after years, not even gradually, immediately. Like the wedding wasn't the beginning of our life, it was the finish line of her mission. I sat with that for a long time. I wanted to scream. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to demand answers, but more than that, I wanted to be smart. I realized that the worst thing I could do was show my cards too soon. She was playing a long game. So I decided to play one. 2. I started backing up everything. All my financial records, property documents, legal files, everything she might try to access. I created copies, added extra passwords, spoke to my own attorney behind the scenes, quietly, carefully, and then I started testing her. I casually brought up the topic of prenups again, just to see her reaction. She rolled her eyes and said, "Babe, why are you bringing that up again? We already talked about this. You said you trusted me." I smiled. "I do. I just think it's smart for both of us." Her tone shifted. "What, you think I'm trying to take your stuff?" I shrugged. "No, but isn't that what a prenup prevents for both of us? If you trust me, then it shouldn't be a big deal." She didn't answer right away. She just stared at me, probably calculating what to say next. Then she said, "If that's how you feel, then sure, whatever makes you comfortable." But her smile didn't reach her eyes. That was the moment I knew she realized something had changed. I wasn't the same man who used to hang on to her every word. I wasn't just blindly in love anymore. I was awake now, and the countdown had officially begun. She thought I was still walking into this marriage like a fool in love, but I was walking in with my eyes open, and a plan of my own because the next move would be mine, and she'd never see it coming. The morning of the wedding didn't feel like I thought it would. You'd expect nerves, maybe some excitement, a little stress, normal stuff, but for me, it was calm. Too calm, actually. Like the storm had already passed and all that was left was the silence before everything collapsed. I stood in front of the mirror that morning, fixing my tie, staring at my reflection, wondering how I even got here. Just a few months ago, I thought this woman was the love of my life. I thought we were building something real, and now I knew she was marrying me for my name, my assets, my future, and she had no idea I knew. That was the secret. I carried that day. What she didn't know was that after that phone call with her lawyer, I spent 2 weeks preparing everything, quietly. I updated my will, froze any joint account processes, removed her name from every draft contract she had submitted, and made sure none of my assets could be transferred without my direct approval. I didn't just cancel the transfers, no. I left them exactly where they were, but legally untouchable. A paper trail that looked like her plan was still in motion, until it wasn't, and I had one final step planned for the wedding day. I wrote a letter, not to her but to her lawyer, a very detailed, legally airtight notice revoking any pending authorizations or agreements. It was signed, dated, and time-stamped, and I had it sent the moment the ceremony began. So there I was, standing in front of the altar, dressed like a groom, acting like a man in love, while she stood across from me smiling like she'd won. And God, she looked beautiful, I won't lie. She knew how to play the part. She walked down that aisle like a queen. Everything from her dress to her expression was perfect. Everyone was watching us like they were witnessing some fairy tale love story. But I was the only one in the room who knew it was all fake. As she took my hand, I noticed the way she squeezed it firm, confident, like she was in control. Like everything was going according to plan, and maybe that's what hurt the most. She had no idea that the man she thought she had wrapped around her finger was already 5 steps ahead. I remember the vows. Hers were poetic, well-rehearsed, full of words like trust, destiny, forever. I almost laughed at how easily they rolled off her tongue, knowing what I knew. Knowing she had sat across from a lawyer and planned out exactly how to make my life hers. Then it was my turn. I looked at her and spoke slowly. I said things that sounded romantic to the crowd, but underneath, every word carried a double meaning. I promised to always see the truth, no matter how well it's hidden. I promised to protect what matters, even when it's not obvious. I promised to never let love blind me again. She smiled through all of it. Everyone clapped, and the ceremony ended like every wedding should, with cheers, photos, kisses, applause. But in my head I wasn't celebrating a beginning. I was preparing for the end after the ceremony. During the reception I watched her work the room, laughing, charming everyone, already sliding into her new role. Mrs. Everything, but I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I just felt clear. She had walked into this marriage thinking she won, thinking she outsmarted me, but she never once stopped to ask what I wanted, what I felt, or what I feared, and that was her biggest mistake. Later that night, after most of the guests had left and we were alone, she looked at me with this smug little smile. She leaned in and said, "Can you believe we're actually married?" I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Yeah, hard to believe, right?" And for just a second, her smile faltered. She didn't know why, she couldn't explain it, but something about the way I said it unsettled her. And that's when I knew the shift had started. She had no idea what was coming next, because tomorrow she'd find out the truth. Not from me, but from the silence. From the halted transfers. From the lawyer's confused reply, from the contracts that went nowhere, from the system that no longer bent in her favor. She thought today was the finish line, but it was just the beginning of a story she didn't write, and for the first time since all this started, I felt like I had taken my power back. I walked into the wedding with a secret, and I walked out with my freedom. The first crack didn't come with a scream, it came with silence. The day after the wedding, I watched her pace around the apartment. She had her phone in one hand, laptop open in front of her, waiting for an email that would never come. She kept refreshing, calling, rechecking the calendar. Her voice started to shift, a little sharper, a little more impatient. She called her lawyer. I sat quietly on the couch, sipping my coffee like it was just another lazy Sunday. She tried to keep her voice calm, but I heard it. The rising confusion, the flicker of panic. What do you mean? The transfer's on hold. Pause. No, he said everything was approved. Another pause. Her face changed. The color in her cheeks faded just a little. What do you mean he revoked it when? And that was it. That was the moment. The exact second her perfect little plan started to crack in her hands like thin glass. She hung up and turned to me. There was no more sweetness in her voice. What did you do? I didn't answer right away. I looked at her for a long time. Not with anger, not with revenge. Just clarity. The kind of calm that only comes when the pretending finally ends. I protected what's mine, I said. She stared at me like she didn't recognize who I was. And maybe she didn't, because for the first time I wasn't playing her game. I wasn't bending. I wasn't trying to keep the peace or preserve the image. I was done pretending. You lied to me, she snapped. You said you trusted me. And, I said, you sat in a lawyer's office and planned to take everything I've worked for. You told him I'd be easy, that I was obsessed with you, that I'd give you whatever you wanted. And maybe that used to be true, but not anymore. She tried to spin it. That's what surprised me the most, not that she was caught, but that she still thought she could talk her way out of it. I was scared. She said, I just wanted security. You don't know what it's like coming from nothing. I didn't mean to hurt you. And that was the moment I realized. She didn't think she'd done anything wrong. To her, this wasn't betrayal, it was business. I would have given you everything, I said quietly, if you had just loved me for real. She didn't respond. She just looked at me, searching for the version of me she used to control, the one who would cave, apologize, try to fix things, but he was gone. Over the next few days, the mask kept slipping. She became cold, distant. She accused me of ruining our future, of embarrassing her, of setting her up, but I never raised my voice, never threw her out. I let her stay in that apartment as long as she needed. I didn't need revenge. Watching her reveal her true face was enough, and eventually, she left. No dramatic goodbye, no tears, just a few bags, a slammed door, and silence. It wasn't until weeks later that the final message came. A text, just 6 words. I hope you're happy I'm not. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, but because there was nothing left to say. This wasn't about breaking someone's heart. This was about letting someone show you who they really are, and believing them the first time. I learned something through all of this. Love isn't about giving someone everything. It's about giving them the truth and hoping they give it back. She gave me a performance, a beautiful, convincing one. But I gave her a mirror, and what she saw, she couldn't live with. So no, I didn't break her heart. I just stepped aside, long enough for her to expose her own, and the peace that followed, that was real. For the first time in years, it was all real.